This was our video from episode 18, which is yesterday. Today is going to be episode number 19. I will probably take some experts from these ones, but we introduced Margie, Melody's sister. So I've been training her on how to do the video editing. So she'll probably do some more editing probably for my videos as well as Melody's videos. And she's just learning. She's helped me behind the scenes with organization and stuff. But now that we're here in Zamboanga and she's literally just down the street from from our apartment here, she's been coming over to help with the video editing, and she helped put together this thumbnail. So she did that. So she chose the pictures and the style, and so she's getting familiar with my style, and then she set all this up. So this was really good using our template, and we're proud of her. So hopefully we'll see more of her as she comes. She can't work every day, but it's just a blessing to have her. All right. Mark's chart yesterday from QNT. I did see some bullishness on QNT. We're in some bullishness territory on QNT. We'll talk about that in. There is a little bit of a danger, but for the most part, I'm becoming bullish on QNT. And if you watch yesterday's video, you'll see why. We're going to have a bit of a teaching, a bit of tutorial today. And today we're going to be talking about increasing energy. Just connect it. And I do recommend an iPad if you get punched in the face. I definitely recommend an iPad. It will help your eye heal a little bit better. Nope, nobody laughed at that joke? Oh, man. Thank you. Thank you. All right, guys. If you don't laugh, I told you, it's only going to get worse from here on out. If you don't laugh, I'm like, I might have to try harder. And then you know.
Just couldn't get any worse. Just when we thought it couldn't get any easier.
Yeah. Just when you thought wrong. So ApeCoin is going to be found here, APE. The exchange I'm going to be using is FTX. So if you're coming here in the plus button, you can type in APE USD. So again, you can go to the plus button here, type in APE USD. All right, once you have it, just click on that and then click Launch Field Full Chart. Make sure you have your setting down here in the bottom right hand corner. You need to click the setting button, and then you need to click on this button that says Logarithmic. And that's going to place and balance your chart, make it everything proportional. For this example, I'm going to click this button right here, and I'm going to click on my tool option here, and then I'm going to click on hide. Okay, so I'm just going to hide everything by clicking the little, open eyeball and close it. Okay, and then it should hide everything. From here, I'm just going to stretching my fingers, just putting them on the screen and stretching them in and out. Alternately, you can go to the time and stretch it out here and here, and then you can also stretch this out this way by moving your mouse along the price line and just bending it to make it to where you like. I'm going to come to this area right here, and again, I'm using the daily chart as always, as you guys always see. Okay, ApeCoin 1D represents 1 day. That means every one of these bars is 1 day worth of time. So every day there's a new candle, either red or white. Red meaning it closed lower, white meaning it closed higher for the day. Okay, then I'm going to click, come here, and then I'm going to click that button and just make it a little bit more room. I'm going to take a screenshot with my iPad by clicking the two dots right here, the power button and the volume button, the top volume button. So for me, it actually looks like this, and then it makes the little picture taking sound. Now, when it has that, it's now going to be in my photos. So if I go to my photos and I scroll all the way down, there's my picture. Okay. Today's class, we're going to talk about cascading energy, how to easily see sword cuts. So this is a way that we can easily identify sword cuts in ApeCoin. If we were to talk about ApeCoin and see how it's flowing, I might do something like this. I might take a highlighter in blue, and usually I'll take it in blue, and I'll show you that the energy is coming down. Price flows down. From here, we can see that price is flowing up, and it kind of curves like this. And this is what it looks like. It's like curving right here. This is a little bit cascading. You can see that it forms these nice arcs. And then here it comes up again, and then we come down from here. Here we come up, here we come down. And so if you were to ask me how price is flowing, it's actually just flowing like this. Okay, taking price and just making it very simple by taking a highlighter and just showing what it's doing is a very easy way to see and understand price action. In the first segment that we see price, we're going to be primarily focused on this area here, because this is going to be an easy area for us to start identifying that cascading energy. This is where price is going up and the arcs are nice and curved, but then they still become nice and curved, even bigger than their previous highs. So you can see that price was coming up to this high and then came back down, and it kind of arcs like this, right? It's a little bit arcing. And then as price comes up, it forms an even bigger arc back to these areas. In this page, we can see that price is moving and making bigger arcs. And what that does is it helps us to quickly identify where we should be drawing sword cuts on this one. Looking at the foundational area here and here, these are what we call our foundational areas. And what that means is that when price started going up, how did it all start? When we're looking at segments of price moving up and price moving down, or looking at flows of price moving up and price moving down, we want to examine these legs in their entirety. So looking at these foundational areas of how it started is a great way to get started drawing those lines. So we can use these foundational lines to our advantage. We can start drawing trend lines based on those, connecting wick to wick and core to core like we normally do. Okay? And that's great. However, we also want to pay attention to the energy. So you can see in this area that price is curving and then making even bigger, larger curves. This is a very big clue that there's a lot of acceleration going on here. So when price cuts through these areas, it's more so a big deal, okay? We can see on this chart, the curves of price are increasing in arc. They are getting more smoother. They are getting larger. This is increasing energy. Therefore, when price breaks these trend lines, it is a very big deal. We should pay attention. It is an easy way to spot where to draw a standard sword cut. So in this case, if we were looking at this chart, okay, we would be seeing that we might want to draw a sword cut in these areas. So let's draw it. Here's wick to wick. So we'll take our line and we're going to draw a line here. If you were drawing core to core, you can do that as well. Okay. Both areas are going to give you some good and valuable information. Okay. On the wick to wick, we're going to make it dashed like I've been doing lately in class to just help you guys identify these areas. So the dashed one is wick to wick and core to core. Now where they cut is where we're going to draw our sword cut. Okay, so this is standard sword cut. So let's draw that in. Number 3, where these drawing the foundational areas together, we are able to see the trend. Number 4, where they cut, where price crosses through those lines significantly. Not just like barely hanging on through, but where it crosses over significantly. This is the area of the sword cut. Now I'm going to take a moment at this moment to ask you guys, can somebody please draw on my screen right now using the zoom annotate feature, and I want you guys to draw where price has crossed over our trend line. Who drew that? They did good. So they drew the rectangle from here to here. Who was it? I can't see. I'm going to put in it. Johannes? Johannes, wonderful. You did great, my friend. Good job. He drew a rectangle from where price crossed over here, right there, at this moment, and it exited the candles here at this area. Therefore, these areas are the sword cut area. Now you could choose, if you wanted to just do core to core, it's that area. Or if you were just doing wick, you can use that area. Both are correct, but an easier way to make things simple for you is just draw both, because it's going to give you what is called the sword cut range. When I draw sword cuts, I draw them orange, okay? And I usually fade the background as well, and add a background, so that everyone is able to see that range. In case we're so zoomed in and you just see one line, I want you to see the full line. Okay, so let me just fill that in real quick. Okay. And just bring down that opacity. All right. Now I'm going to delete his annotation so you guys can see it. If you're watching on Zoom, you cannot see this. You cannot see what they're drawing, but I can. So nanny. Just kidding. All right, so I'm going to take a screenshot. So this is where we can see the sword cut. Okay, 4. We are, section 5. We are able now to draw either the core to core cut or the wick to wick cut. But a safer and more effective way is to simply draw them both as a range using a rectangle block. I always draw my standard sword cuts as orange blocks. Okay, alrighty. So everybody's going to get copies of these screenshots after class. We are looking now for price to build structure at these areas, preferably round structure. I like for a price to curve into these cuts, these sword cut areas, so that I have a more clear picture about what price is doing. And now I'm going to use white and I'm going to show you. You can see that price in this example is coming up into the sword cut and then rejecting off of it. Okay. In this example, we can see price curving nicely into up back into the sword cut area and rejecting exactly where it should. When price rejects, I will usually take the trade. In this example, let me give another one. In this example, we would be looking to short ApeCoin at the $6 level and make money as it falls, if it was possible to short ApeCoin. All right, so this will be an example of how a sword cut works. Okay, so again, just to recap, the bigger the cascades, the easier it is to see a standard sword cut. And there's going to be lots of times when price is jagged and it's not going to be as easy to see, or it's going to be more difficult. In those cases, we're going to avoid them altogether. Let's look at a few examples from Euro USD. Okay, there's a few good examples from Euro USD, and I think we can get some good ones on the weekly chart. All right, so let's go to pull up a new chart. And we're going to go to the euro. Here's the euro USD. And we're going to launch a full chart. Find rest. So, alrighty. In Christ alone. Here's a good example. Let's start with here, and I am going to take this chart, okay, about right here, and then I am going to take a screenshot. Alrighty, here we go. So now we're looking at euro US dollar on the daily chart, and this will be good for this example. Okay, here, this was a great example. All right, so let's go into some of these flows, and we're going to draw our general flow, and I'm going to draw it for you. This is not an area I want you to do too much practice in, but I want of flows. Although it has some help, especially if you're a beginner, I want you rather to focus on what price is doing rather than just the flow. But the flow is pretty simple. Okay, you can see that price is flowing this way. It came down, went up, came down, and it flows down like this in this nice arc. Very, very messy. We went up for a time, came down, and then went up. And here's where we started doing this nice rounding action. Okay, we went up and did this nice rounding action. Came down for a time, and then curved right up. Okay, into the second curve, we started coming down in a funny way, but we still came down. And then we came up for a nice round curve here. Now, of these curves, there's a few things about them. This curve is nicer than this one, and it's a little bit bigger. If you were to take this area, and I'm going to show you what's going on. If I were to take this curve and bring it and overlay it, you can see that it's just a little bit bigger and nicer than the other one. This one, however, is a little bit off. okay? But it's still nice and round, okay? If you really, really look at it, it's good and round. So we can use these to our advantage, okay? We can use these all to our advantage to see the weakness appearing on price as it's happening. So let's use these curves. Now, here's our first point, or our first arc. Here is the second one, okay? And here's a third one, okay? And so now, with these curves, we can see our bottoms. So here's the bottom, and we'll do it just like I showed you earlier in blue. Okay, here's the bottom of our second curve. Okay, so here's one and here's two, and we can now use these bottoms in these areas. Also, we're going to use our foundational area. Okay, so here's our curves, and we can start using these bottoms to start slicing and cutting up price. So let's add this text. Okay, here we can see, we can see on the euro that the curves / arcs are cascading in an increasing way. The arcs are getting larger and more smooth. That's basically what we're looking for. Next, let's write this. This is an easy way to identify where to begin to draw our shortcuts. Okay. 3. We started, actually I'll put that as 2. We started by drawing the flow of price with a blue highlighter. Now we draw the bottoms, especially the foundational area or areas. In this case, there is really one foundation. We will connect the bottom of these curves together to find the trend. All right, now let's draw that trend. Okay, and it will look something like this. Okay, I'm going to draw both of them for you, okay? This needs to go a little bit further. The last one. That's good. That's correct. All right, so here's one that we can draw. Now, this is based on the wick. This line in green is the connecting of the foundational area. I connected the wicks in this example. Being careful not to cross the other lowest wicks in those foundational clusters. What's a foundational cluster? A foundational cluster is, oops, I'll show you. It's real simple, not complicated. A foundational cluster is when I'm looking at the bottom of price, so say I'm looking right here in this area. What is the lowest wick in this cluster of candles, this grouping of candles? What is the lowest wick? It's actually this one that would not allow me to cross over. So what I mean by that, okay, is that if I was drawing the lowest, the lowest wick, okay, in these clusters, trying to connect it to this point here, I would not draw from this place right here. I wouldn't draw from this candle. That would be incorrect. And the reason I wouldn't draw from that candle is because if I draw from that candle, I am going to cross over those lines. You're going to see it. I am now cutting through all of these other candles here. So this is not correct. We don't want to be cutting through our other, sorry, not candles, our other wicks. I don't want to be cutting through my other wicks. So I'm not using this point right here. This would be an incorrect example, okay? Now this tutorial class today is not about foundational clusters, but we can have more practice of that later on. For now, I'm just showing you how to read and understand this. But we are not we want to draw the lowest wicks in the area without crossing over any of the other candles. I'm sorry, any of the other wicks. If we're drawing cores, we don't want to cross over any of the other cores. That's going to be incorrect. So in this case, I actually use these ones right here because, these ones, because this line doesn't cross through any of the other wicks. Okay, you can see that when I'm drawing these wicks together, everything else is just left alone. Fine, perfectly fine. Okay, or as close as you can to it. So that's why I'm drawing this ones. Okay, it's really just that one Okay, but in this case, they're all flowing together. You can see that. This one, that one, that one, they're all the same. I'll just zoom in real quick and add a text box to that. This is the correct wick to draw from in this example. We want to be careful, not to, I should say, if we are drawing wick to wick, then we want to be careful not to cross over other wicks in the same instance. This is a general rule of thumb, but there are exceptions, okay, which we won't talk about today, but there are exceptions. Okay. So as a reminder, that'll help later on. Okay. Now let's continue. I should have put that as number 6. Right? Yeah. Find rest, my soul in Christ. All right, let's get back to our example. So making that a little bit easier for you guys. Now, there's one more that we can draw, and it is to the last foundational area. And I want you guys now to draw on my screen where that other area is. What other line would we draw on here when connecting for our foundational, connecting to our foundational areas? What is that area? We drew it. It's in blue. Can somebody draw on my screen? Especially if you're new, I want you guys to get some practice. Go ahead and use the zoom annotate feature, and I want you to click on the drawing tools. You can either draw it with your finger, a squiggly line, or just draw the straight line using the straight line tool. And hey, Jason, can you elaborate more on the round structure? Yes, you're going to see it. So we'll talk more about round structure in just a moment once we come back to our drawing, because we're going to do I think 3 or 4 examples of these today. This is a great. And then, so what I want you guys to draw on my screen, I drew one of the lines. You guys can already see I drew this one to here. Where is the next lines that we would draw? There's actually two answers that are pretty good that we would accept. Helen, good job. Johannes, Helen, great. That's fantastic. This would be, and for some of you advanced students, you guys know this area would be considered a accelerated adjustment zone, or it's one type of accelerated lines. Okay, that's great. You can draw that. There's one other that we would draw. What's the other one that we can draw? Because we can remember, we can use this area multiple times as we're trying to identify the full trend. All right. Mark El Camino's getting a little advanced on us. Good job. That's right. That's right. This is the pink one. I want that one. All right. So I'm going to draw the lines you guys drew. This is the one I'm really looking for. Now we're going to connect to this area. Okay. Now this area is going to give us that original wick. Okay. So I'm going to give this another color set because it's a slightly different color. And it's here. All right. So I'm going to put this as number 7. And drawing from our foundational area, again, this time even lower in the cluster, I am able to connect the next bottom and slice it by drawing the trend line. Again, this time I use another color, light blue, just to show the differences in these 2 areas. Okay, so you could at this moment get very, very technical, and if you wanted, and draw those cores. Okay, you can draw those cores here if you wanted to, and I'm just gonna barely draw them just so you can see if you guys wanted to get further into the advance. If I was looking here at this area trying to get the lowest core, it's actually just right there. Now at this moment, I'm gonna delete the flow because you guys don't really need the flow on your chart. You just need to train your eyes so you can see it, so you know where to start drawing. Okay, but if I were drawing that, you may want to get technical, super technical, and draw that really thin. But guess what? I'm not going to get that technical because then you have to start getting into verification. You could, and then you can start saying, oh, look, prices. Hold on, let me move my mouse again. You can say, oh, look, price is responding here, here. Yeah, you can get technical about that. Okay, you could if you really, really want to, but I'm concerned more about the major swings rather than the little intricacies of price. So I'm not going to do that. I'm concerned about these major increasing swings. That's what I'm really concerned with. So in this example, we can see the first of our major swings, price was cut in which area? So let's draw. You're going to draw now on my screen, and we're going to focus on the green line. Okay, the green line, which was one of the first. And I'm going to stop your annotation right now, clear, and we'll get back to the lines you guys drew in just a moment. We'll get back to them. But for right now, I want you guys to show me where might we draw our sword cut now based on the green area. Okay, good. So we might want to draw the sword cut based on this green area. And you guys, if you did that, you'd be correct. You'd be very correct to draw the sword cut in this area. Okay, so I'm going to now draw in orange, and I'm going to make it a little bit thinner, okay? Approximately where those candles come in and where they leave. Okay, and we're going to talk about this example. Identifying the area where price cuts through is where we would begin to draw the sword cut. Okay, what's the problem with this one? Does anybody want to tell me what the problem with this sword cut is? That's right. There's no really response or reaction to this line. We can see that we came up to it, hit it, came up right through it, right above it, came back down and stopped on it, and then went up again and then sat down on it here. But this is very weird action. We're just flirting, going through in the line. It's almost destroying the line, meaning there's a lot of energy that is still in price. It's not ready to go down. Therefore, we wouldn't want to take the trade, okay? And I'm going to put that in there, okay? Did we already take a screenshot of this one? I'm going to write down this here, okay? The problem with this area is that there is no strong structure reacting to the sword cut. Very sharp, short candles are responding, but no arcs. Also, price is flirting with the sword cut too much by crossing sides multiple times. This is telling us, actually I'll put that in another one. This is telling us that price has too much energy and is not ready to respond. Therefore, there's no clear direction with the current lines we have drawn. Now I'm putting that in because there's other ways you can tell the energy should be stopping here. There's a few other things you guys can do to get to this point right here, okay? And for some of you advanced students, I'm going to give that to you real quick because you guys might be curious about that. What? I don't understand, Jae-sung. I will tell you. I'm glad you asked. Does anybody know how to find that energy? Does anybody know? Some of you advanced ones? How can you find that there still is weakness on here, even without the clear sword cut? If you guys know it. Mark, you probably know it. Do you know how to find that top anyway, even without the sword cut? It's a little advanced, but I just wanted to throw it out there because some people. My question was, can you identify that top without the sword cut? Yeah. If you get it, let me know. If you get it, other. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Now you could do that. You could do that. Now, for the purpose of this class, I won't. And the reason is because you can see that the energy may be constituted as a little bit round in these areas, but in this area, it's not really. I don't really have arcs to play with. But yes, if you were to cut that, you could see that there's some tops here. But I would argue and say, well, they've already been hit right here at this point rather than here. Okay. All right. Now we're going to draw this. Okay. So for you guys asking about structure, how do you get the right structure? the structure would be if price was rounding like this would be more correct. Okay, and I'm gonna put that in my side notes here. Okay, I'm gonna just add that in as a side notes. But even though this is a fantasy, it's an ant on me. Okay, I'm gonna put this as a side note. The correct structure would look like this if price rounded underneath the sword cut, underneath or on top of the sword cut. It would look like this. However, this is not the correct area to draw this sword cut. Okay. But because that's not the case, we cannot draw that. However, so we would see that price still has more to play in these areas. Now, there might be more ways to identify it. Again, we could spend some time examining it if we really wanted to, and we might be able to identify and come up with some other things going on with this price, such as our tiger lines. I bet the tiger, right? Sorry, Mark, did I interrupt you? Possibly. It's bothering me now. No, it's tiger energy. It's tiger. Look, Mark, it's tiger. If you take your tiger line, that center line based on this flowing up, and this is flowing here, this is pretty straight with verification. You take that center line, that's your tiger line. You take that tiger line, you duplicate it at the foundational areas, and there you go. You got resistance in these areas. So that if we were looking at the sword cut in that area and saying, oh, price is still holding strong to the underside of here, we may still be bearish and may still hold on to our short position or still be looking for a short position, possibly. But that's advanced, guys. That's advanced. I'm not going to share that. All right, what's our next sword cut area? Go ahead and draw it with the circle and then draw it with the rectangle. Especially if you're new, I want you to be the ones to participate. Or if you're new to charting and you guys have just watched me for a long time but you didn't want to participate, I want you guys to draw. Where is our next sword cut that we should draw to identify the weakness? That's right. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Right there. And why did he draw there? Why did he draw in that area? That's right. Here is the next area. Okay, so if we were to take this, and we'll fade this one away, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the opacity and bring that down and just fade it away in the background. Okay. We are now going to add this as number 11. Okay. Here, circled, is the next area that we would draw our sword cut. This is because this is the area where price crossed over the trend line. And what do we see in this area? What do we see? What do we identify in this area? What are we looking at here? What are we looking for? Did somebody explain it to me in your own words? Does anybody know? So Johannes is drawing some curves here. Good. Here, he's looking, and what is he seeing? Johannes, why did you draw these curves like this? Yes. Great. So he said because it's touching our sword cut, and I would add, you're getting nice round structure into these areas. Look, you got two round structures into these areas. You can take the trade anytime we cut after here. Here we touch it twice. In this example, we would be looking for further weakness because we're rounding here in these areas. All right. Now I'm going to put that in these texts. Okay. In this, we can see from this last cut that price has rounded nicely into the sword cut area, rounding up and rejecting. After the rejection is where we would be looking to take the trade. In this example, would we be looking to buy or to short? That's right, short. All right, for some of the newbies, shorting is when you sell something to go down and make the money as it goes down. And longing is where you go up looking to buy. So if you hear a trader or somebody in the markets talk about longs, they mean buying. If they talk about shorts, they mean selling. Okay. All right, so this is a great example of some of these things. Now, there's a few other examples. We'll go faster. I'm going to go much faster, and I'm just going to now show you examples uh, rather than actual us drawing them. But if we're doing this right on TradingView, you could use your tools, such as your trendline tool, and begin to draw those areas. And you can draw them very accurately, okay? And then you can draw your rectangle, and it's just that fast, okay? So we can see that. So I'm going to leave that as an example here. There's some other examples that we can look at on the weekly chart. So let's pull up on the weekly chart, because on the weekly chart, sometimes when you zoom out, you can see price get a lot more smoother. Okay, so here we can start seeing a lot more smoother, and we can start seeing a lot of the jagged action that is happening. Okay, so this curve here, for me, and I'm going to show you on this weekly chart. So now I'm looking back since 1985, 1984. I was 1985. I was born in '84, so I am 38. We would be looking here from this back when I was born at some of these curves. And if I'm looking at some of these curves, I'm going to show you examples of non-cascading energy. Okay, so if you look at the flow, you can see that this is a nice round curve. You guys see that? Nice round. This, however, is not really what we're looking for. This, it's powerful, very sharp decline, a little bit of danger. I'm not really looking for that one. This one's a little bit more like this, and I'm not really looking for all of that when it comes to shortcuts. This one will be a little bit more better just because of this second lump here, okay? But as I see, and I can connect these points, I can see that this energy here and this one are what we'd want to compare. We can see that this curve and this curve are very much more linked. So I might be more adept to draw these bottoms coming off of these curves and coming into these curves, okay? So this one is the one coming into this curve. It might make more sense if I draw it like this, I should say. So you guys can see. There we go. So this one coming into this curve, I'll draw that one. This one, and this one coming into this curve. Yeah, that would make more sense for me to teach it like that. Even though we can use these areas when doing verification, and we can use them very much to our advantage, we may be looking for shortcuts at the more correct curves, okay? So let's put that in the notes just to help us to understand and remember some of that. Okay, edit. Why is the edit button not working? Let's delete this. Let's click on done, save to photos, open up the photos. Looking at the euro on the weekly chart, we can see there is only two major cascading arcs. These are also increasing one after another. These two areas where price is curving looks like a overturned mushroom. These curves are more smooth. The smoother the curve, the better. Just remember, when we see these, we can begin to easily see where it is more proper to draw a standard sword cut. All right, now I won't go through all of them, but I want you guys to now draw for me these and see if we can identify some of the sword cut areas for this chart. And we're just talking primarily about sword cut standards, or the standard sword cuts. There it is. Good job, Helen. Good job. That's the one I'm really looking for here, okay? So the one I'm really looking for, okay, if I'm drawing that one, then my sword cut is more closer to right here, okay? So I would be more looking for that area. And you can see it's very small because of the weekly chart, but it's still correct. That's where we want to take the trade, okay? All right. Now, once we have these, there's a lot of other information you can get, such as Tiger Energy and different energies, if you can find them. In this case, I don't. We may want to see the link from these these areas right here. This is a little bit for my advanced students, just to give you guys a bone. Not that you're dogs. You scurvy slum. You can take those lines. You can do tiger energy, tiger analysis of those. You can also just take the arc and move them at the bottoms of the energy centers here, here, and here. Oops. Here, here, and here, and then search for verification. Okay. And there's a lot of these information you can read once you see the weakness appearing. So if we saw the weakness appearing here, we may be looking for the next bottom as here. Okay, so if we're going to get a little bit more advanced with this, I'm going to get a little bit, I'm just going to show you the next areas here. I'm going to do this in yellow, and then we'll end our tutorial. Okay, here we are. Here we can see even more of the collected energy using other principles within the sword method in conjunction with the sword cut, revealing the weakness. All right, so now just as a final tip to everybody, before we look at Luna, and then I want to show some news. As a final tip to everybody, if I was drawing that line on Euro in real life, and I was drawing it like this, all right, if we were drawing that in real life, we would draw that sword cut approximately here, as I showed you. It got involved. But but we're focusing on these areas. Nice, many weeks. So this would have been from 1996 all the way to, March of 1996 all the way to July, and then all the way up into October and November. So a lot of area at these sword cuts before going down. And that was a lot of energy that was collected. Just like Bitcoin right now, we can see there's a lot of energy on the opposite side, not where it should be. I'm sorry, not Bitcoin. I think it's Ethereum. We'll have to get back to it this week. There's one that its price is on completely the wrong side of price, and I believe it's Ethereum. But I have to check. We've been talking about it for a few weeks, and now I can't remember which one it is. So once we see that, we would be looking for weakness on this chart, okay? So that would be something we were looking at. If we were looking further on weakness for this chart, and say we were reading the next set of energy coming into these markets like here, and as I showed you in the example, it was this, then we would duplicate these lines and also put those at the bottom. So this would be a little bit advanced. So now we can see a second point. So say we're here in time, we would be looking at this line, and we might be looking for the support to come in here. When price crosses over this area, that's the weakness appearing on the chart right there, okay? So we would be looking for support here, and if that doesn't happen, then you know something's wrong. In this example, you can see price came all the way up to the underside of that line, and further weakness ensued. Okay, all right? So that's how we would navigate this trade. Price came to the underside of this line, further weakness ensued. When price did come up back up to here with nice round action coming up into these lines, now you're trading on the wrong side of this channel. Combine that with all of the weakness here and all the weakness here, and you got makings for a good storm of lower prices. And you can see that we went down for a good number of years, all the way up until the year 2001. October of 2000. So you're talking about from 1998 for another 2 years, you were experiencing down prices on Euro because you're on the wrong side of price. So it's much harder. A lot of these people who are buying up here are eventually taking out profits and eventually just exiting the market altogether because they're like, I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore. Can't take it anymore. And they go, okay? So if you're reading the new health, you can start looking at the new trend lines. You can draw them. We may not necessarily want to draw sword cuts at these areas because this is nice and round and this is not. But you can draw here, at least the trend line, to see where the resistance and where price should come up. But we may not come back down as a sword cut area, simply for the fact that this is not the best cascading energy here. But just when drawing a standard, you could see, you can draw this a line from here to here if you wanted to, and look for that to be the resistance or support. And you can see that price crossed over, so that was another sign of health coming back into these areas. Okay, so these are ways you can help navigate the trade. Once you have new bottoms, you can draw new bottoms. Okay, once you got them. And that's going to help you identify some of the next sets of what's happening with price. Okay, so some of you may want to draw that. And this is really, really nice and jagged. This is more curved and smooth, and this is more shorter. So this is a little bit decreasing. So if we were to draw a sword cut here with all of this jaggedness, here is a more of a larger arc, and here's more of a smaller arc maybe. Maybe the sword cut may not be as powerful at this area. You still probably may want to draw one. Me, just looking at just from today's lesson, you may not want to draw it because it's looking really, really, really weird, I think, to me. It's not really looking as more mushroomy as it should, more consistent. This is just kind of like a little bit here. I might want to draw these and look for price to cut those because those are very consistent. It's a very consistent pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4. But you might want to see that. See how the sword cut was crossed over right here? Okay. If you were to draw that. But this area was correct. And this one area is more correct. Okay, now, do we have any other questions today? I was giving a little bit of a slower tutorial today about standard. I'm going to ask if there was any other questions about these before we get into just a Luna quick look at Luna, because we were supposed to do it yesterday. And then after that, I just want to go over some news real quick because I think we're coming up to our time. And then we'll continue with the Word of God. But I do have a little bit of a news to share, some stuff I've collected, some screenshots. I hope you guys are learning a bit. Touch my hands, my mouth, and my heart. Fill my life, Lord, every part. Let the power of the Holy Ghost fall on me. Anointing fall on me. This one is not the right chart I want to use. It's actually, yeah, it's right. Okay, on Luna, I'm still expecting prices to come down to these areas here. At the moment, I'm still expecting prices to come down here. Not much real strong action going on with Luna. Okay, not really strong action. However, these cascades are very strong. You can see how we're rounding, just kind of recapping on today's energy. You can see how the curves are just getting stronger. We may want to draw these lines and really pay attention to this angle. Now, we've already reverberated the angle as far as we could, which was up here, and that's how we saw this resistance. That's how we needed to take some profits in this area, what some of you guys did. Okay, the next area we should have bounced back on was these areas here. But now we kind of came into the underside of here and are experiencing some of the weaknesses getting back into these areas, which is really odd. It's really weird. But because of that, I'm still seeing that there's just not much strength going on the actual chart. I'm not saying Luna's not going to do really well, because it should do well, especially when it comes to the times of the burns, okay, which the burns are going to be increasing more and more. And so Luna should start doing well longer term. But due to a flash crash, I believe Luna will go down with them for just a short amount of time. And you guys are going to be able to get some good Luna Classic prices for very, very cheap. So soon the days will be coming when there will be a flash crash. But as it is, I think that you guys are going to be able to still see some lower prices of Luna coming up, but not really strong, clear direction. However, I am still paying attention greatly to this area here where I showed in red. Okay, so I put it in red here. Any other questions about Luna for today, or is there any other questions that I really missed? If you guys have an emergency chart you need me to look at, please let me know right now. Otherwise, if you want to hold off, tomorrow, these classes are awesome. I'm learning while at work. Yeah, guys, I love when you're at work. If you guys have a job, hold on. If you guys have a job and you can put an earpiece in your head, fantastic, guys, fantastic. Have fun, especially if you're doing manual labor. Go ahead. Was that Yuri's voice? I know that accent anyway.